Hello, Canada. It's Jeff Navarez with another coffee chat for the city election in 2024. Today, I have three special guests for place two. I have Thelma Kobeck, Ebony Berry, and Matthew Dyer. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jeff.
Excellent.
Good.
For those of you at home who haven't seen one of our coffee chats, all my guests today, they know the format. They've each submitted two questions to me, and I've submitted one question to them. So we all know what we're asking, and we're just gonna give them a few minutes to answer it and just have a conversation about some of the key issues that they want to bring up about Kennedale and coming up year. So let's start with some introductions. I'll start with Thelma. Thelma, I want you to introduce yourself to Kennedale.
Well, hi, everyone, and thank you, Jeff and Matthew and Ebony, for this opportunity to have this conversation. My name's Thelma Kobeck. I'm a lifelong resident of Kennedale, born and raised here. Um, I've gone a lot of places and seen a lot of things in the world, but Kennedale has always been home, and that's where I've always come back to. I've been married for 27 years to my wonderful husband, Hawk Kennedy, and he willingly uprooted himself and came to Kennedale to be with me, and we're glad to be here.
Excellent. And Ebony, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Again, thanks to each of you for allowing me to be here. And I'm excited about this conversation. So I am first of all, woman of God, a mother, a wife, and then a mother. I have been in Kennedale for 17 years. So my daughter is a product of Kennedale ISD. She's been there since kindergarten. I am a former educator. I just recently left education in exactly October 13, 2023, and have transitioned to full-time real estate. So fun experience. Got a lot of new things going on. I'm very active, I would say, in Kennedale. I'm PTO. I'm a substitute in Kennedale ISD. I'm always at the high school, so you might think I teach there, but I don't. I for the 17 years I've been in Kennedale, I've just loved it. I just like the way that I guess you kind of think of it like Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And so that's kind of how Kennedale feels. It's a family environment, it's a growing city, and yeah, that like I said, 17 years I haven't taken my daughter anywhere else but right here in Kennedale.
I like your analogy with Cheers. Matthew, I mean Norm. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jeff. So I am Matthew Dyer. I've lived in Kennedale for about the last 5 years. Moved here in 2019. Prior to that, still lived mostly in Texas. I grew up just south of here in Burleson, and really just kind of fell in love with the location here, the feel of the town. I'm looking forward to being able to raise my family up here.
Excellent. All right, we'll just jump right in here. For the audience, the first two questions are from Thelma. So I'll start the first one with Ebony. We'll start with you. We're gonna go around. Everybody's gonna answer all these questions. Okay. Let me pull up my questions a little bit bigger than what I can see. The oversight and fiduciary responsibility are two of the most important responsibilities of a council member. Beyond a textbook definition, what are the terms fiduciary responsibility and oversight mean to you, and how do they relate to being an elected member of the Kennedale City Council?
Um, so you probably gonna this just gonna be me on answering. I'm pretty simple. I don't make it too difficult. When I hear those two words, I automatically adjust myself to an educator. I'm all my life I've been in service. So when I think about the position of city council and the definition of those two words, is simple. I'm here to serve, and if confidentiality is required, that's what I do. If I have to speak for those I'm serving, that's what I do. Um, it's my commitment to making sure that whatever I do is in the betterment of everybody who's involved, from the top to the bottom.
Okay. And how does that apply to fiduciary responsibility? I think that answered part of the oversight.
Um, I mean, I can't say that I don't see it as any different. I mean, my responsibility is to make sure that whatever decisions we're making at city council is fair and equal to all stakeholders involved.
Excellent. All right, Matthew, you want to crack at it?
Certainly. So for me, it kind of roots into a lot of how I was raised. My father was very big into business, taught me and my brother quite a bit about that to the point where we were actually writing contracts when we were children, when we trade toys back and forth. He has one framed in his office from when I was 3 years old, and I traded a GI Joe to my brother for a book, I think.
I like your dad.
Uh, it, yeah. So the business mindset has always been instilled in me. So that really comes into the fiduciary responsibility. Uh, we were raised where we didn't really have an allowance. We had to work and do chores, and we would get paid for that. But in order to get paid, we had to show that we had a reconciled ledger, keeping track of where all of our money went, what we earned, what we spent. Um, so that has always been kind of drilled into me. So to me, fiduciary responsibility is just kind of second nature of looking at what we have budgeted, what's planned, and making sure that every action that is taken that has any sort of monetary consequence to it fits into what that plan was. So following very closely on that. And then similarly, the oversight is just kind of making sure that I understand fully what the boundaries are, what are the responsibilities and the capabilities of a city council member, what authority do I have, what authority do I not, and keeping a very clear line of what is able to be done, um, and making sure that we maintain that alignment with the community of being perfectly clear of here is my power, here's what I can and can't do.
Okay, thank you. Thelma?
Okay. So for me, fiduciary responsibility, it has to do with responsibility of carefully managing that money. That money belongs to the residents of Kennedale. And as a city council member, you're making big decisions about that. And it's very important that those are carefully thought out decisions. It's very important that you can justify the decisions that you make, that you're controlling expenses as much as possible. You're taking in their money and they're trusting you to be very responsible how that money is spent for the good of the entire community. As far as oversight, as a representative of the residents of Kennedale, you need to be ensuring that sound decisions are made that reflect what Kennedale residents want. And that includes tasking city staff with carrying out the work that's associated with those decisions, and then also following up to make sure that that work is completed in a timely manner and within budget.
All right, thank you. I think Councilman member Michael says it the best when he talks about things like this. He says, I can only make the best decision possible with the information that's given to me. And that's why I don't judge past councils because they made the best decision possible with the information given to me, even though this council might be trying to fix it or it just didn't work out. I think he sums it up that having the information is the best. So next question. What is your vision for Kennedale in a 1, 5, and 10 years? And we started with Ebony last time, so we'll go with Matthew this time.
So ultimately, it's going to be kind of excited to see what the people propose to the council of how they want to see the city develop. For me personally, I think we have a good size. It'd be nice to see some business growth, further enriching different public spaces, um, growing a young family. That's one of the really big things for me is like I like to see the parks. I like the community events. We recently had the car show, things like that. I think really drive home the small town feel, but grow for the growth. Yeah, over the next 1, 5, and 10 years, and all of those different time spaces, I'd like to see that kind of expanded upon. And again, seeing what the citizens of Kennedale bring forth to the council and how they want to see it develop.
All right, Ebony, you still with us? You're next on and your camera's out. I don't know. There you go.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. My apologies.
I
Can
know
you
a
guys
tech
hear
guy.
me? Yes, like I said, trying to multitask over here. But I would say that over any amount of years, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, I could just pretty much sum that up in 2 words. Growth and continued diversity.
Actually, short and sweet. I like it. Thelma, your question? Wow, what do you see in the 1, 5, and 10 years?
Well, in the short term, definitely making sure that oversight and fiduciary responsibility are a priority. Getting that budget very controlled, trying to alleviate the taxpayers' tax burden. Attracting new businesses is definitely a critical thing for us to be working on, and making careful decisions regarding growth. We need growth, but we need to be very careful about it. Making infrastructure improvements a high priority, and then just continuing that oversight with some established protocols and developing a very robust business community. Obviously, we need to do ongoing infrastructure. It's not a one and done thing. It's got to be repaired. It's got to be maintained. There has to be a maintenance schedule developed and followed, and kind of redeveloping trust that residents will have with the city council and city government. And, in the long term, just continuing that, and also tapping into the city's changing needs, societal and economic changes, and residents' wishes.
Excellent. It's the whole chicken and egg, right? You need growth for businesses, but you need businesses to attract the right growth. All right.
Exactly.
Let's see, we're moving on to Matthew's questions. So we'll do the first one to you, Thelma, and then we'll start Ebony on the next one. Matthew's question is, what experience do you bring to the city council? That's you, Thelma.
Well, let's see. To start, I'm a lifelong resident of Kennedale. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and lived through it. I spent the last, I think it's 6 years now on the Board of Adjustment. I'm currently the chairperson. That started last year. I'm a member of the steering committee for revising the comprehensive growth plan. We've been really working hard on that. I also have 29 years of public education. 5 of that as a curriculum specialist, supporting and coaching educators, and some military experience. And I think those things bring some critical pieces in terms of being able to look at a large entity like a city government, and being able to understand how it works and what needs to be done, and the resources that are available and resources you need.
Excellent. Okay, Matthew. Oh, by the way, more than 6 years, don't you think? 8 years probably with BOA.
Maybe more. It may be,
Yeah,
it
you
all
served
runs
on it
together,
with me
Jeff.
for a long time.
It's
As,
been
as
there
long
for a
as
while.
6. 2020's messed up my concept of time. I can't believe it's 2024. I could just mind blows me. Matthew, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. Time has been very odd ever since quarantine.
Yes. Yes.
No, so for mine, a lot of it started um, working with Parks and Recreation Department back when I was in Burleson. That was one of my very first jobs, starting there, setting together a program to expand on a lot of the community parks there, the events that occurred, getting all of that coordinated and scheduled. Beyond that, I have a business background. I've worked in global supply chain through all sorts of major situations, including quarantine and everything with the COVID shutdown. Having to manage a very tight fiscal budget and working out strategic plans, product roadmaps, launch plans, and coordinating supply constraints over 15-year periods. So basically trying to bring that business mindset and the ability to operate a budget and working through a strategic plan, bringing that into the council.
Excellent. I'm sorry, Ebony, you were supposed to answer that. It's hard to juggle 3 of you when there's used to 2. What experience do you bring to the city council?
Oh, no worries. Let's see. I'm an educator. So in being an educator, I have been in all types of leadership positions: teacher, instructional coach, curriculum. Oh my gosh, the list goes on. I've been a class sponsor in which I had to organize community affairs, plan the budget, fundraise for those budgets, help students enroll in college, all types of things. And I think the biggest thing that would help me with Kennedale is I believe that the focus is what is Kennedale going to be for our children. And so as a parent of a child that's been in Kennedale for 17 years, I know what I know what other parents want. I know what those who see Kennedale having a growing future want to see for our children. And so that's pretty much what I thrive on. Like I'm a go-getter. I'm back lack of a better word to say, I'm just gonna say it. I'm a hustler. Like I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to make sure that my children and other children in Kennedale have what they need, that the city is growing in the right direction, whether it's financially, whether it's economic growth, whether it's for the school district. I'm there. And I want to see it happen. So that's me.
Okay. All right, back at you for the next question. What makes Kennedale a place you want to live?
You said that's back at
Is
me?
that mine?
That's
Okay.
back at Ebony. I'm sorry. Ebony.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
I went in
What makes
order last one. I'm gonna get back in order this one.
what makes Kennedale a place? To be quite honest, Kennedale just kind of reminds me of like watching. Let's see. Y'all can hear me, right? I'm not on mute. Okay, no, I'm
Yeah,
not on
you're
mute.
good. You're good.
It kind of reminds me. It's probably a little bit old school, but I guess like Little House on the Prairie. I can't really think of any other TV shows that pop in my mind, but Little House on the Prairie is like it's a community. You know, your downtown is right there. You can walk to it if you wanted to. Um, your neighbors know you. The neighbors down the street know you. You walk into the school and it's, hey, Miss Berry, how you doing? You know, you go into a local grocery store and they just know you, like, hey, it's been a while. You can walk up to your mayor and say hello. It's just, we're a city, but it's still that small town feel, and I've always liked that. Now, do I want to see growth? Yes. But do I also want to keep that family environment that Kennedale holds? Yes, I do. And that's really what attracts me to Kennedale, is that family feel.
Excellent. Thelma?
Uh, Great people. There are great people who live here in this town, and many of them have been here for many years, and some of them are brand new. The small town feel and atmosphere, um, the potential that Kennedale has, and the fact that, and at the end of the day, it's home.
Excellent. I love that. It's home. Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, similar to it is going to be the small town feel. Like I said, I moved here a few years ago, and a lot of my experience happened during quarantine, and it was one of those things where even on that first Halloween when most everything was getting shut down, I was able to take my kids down the street, and there were people that were set up and they had a table in their driveway, so the kids could still go trick or treating, and that's just the kind of neighborhood it was. I can look out my window any given night, and there's always going to be my neighbors out taking walks with their families, walking their dogs. It's just a friendly, safe feeling, homely type place. Um, and beyond that is just we're really well positioned, I think, in the Metroplex because we get to have this small town vibe and feel, but we're minutes away. It's a 10-minute drive to downtown Fort Worth. I can go into Arlington and the malls in the Highlands area. If I want to get to Dallas to go to the zoo or something, it's 25, 30-minute drive. So the positioning here is really well, and I think that's going to be one of the key selling points to try and bring some of that business growth is we're kind of in the heart of everything here, and that's what it feels like. And so combination of the small town, great people, great neighbors, really well positioned.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that. I think the one thing I'm so proud of is, like we were talking about diversity earlier, Ebony, like we have a diverse group of citizens here. I'm not talking about skin, but just by their walks of life or what they do. And so if you just go around town, just meeting everybody, there's experts in their fields all over the town. So when you really
Yeah.
need something, it's that small town feel. Hey, Mr. Clark, can you tell me about this?
Yep.
Yeah, no problem. But we also produce our children when we send them out to the world. We have people going on The Voice. We have people going into the military. We have people who
Yep.
are going on to be experts in the field. We have people going to NFL and other sports. And so we produce also with our children just the great examples of what Texans can be. And we're putting Canada on the map when we do that. All right,
Absolutely.
last couple questions. These are Ebony's questions, so I will start with Thelma, and then we'll start with Matt on the next one. I won't mess it up this time. Thelma, what do you see as top priorities for the city of Kennedale and why? Good question.
It is a good question. Well, obviously, one of the most immediate is infrastructure. We know it has not been improved and maintained sufficiently. It's in critical need of repairs and replacement. Um, I know that's being worked on. We just need to continue that work. We need to establish some maintenance protocols for that as we go. Like I said before, it's not a one and done. Developing a good business environment that will attract and keep businesses so that people will want to come to Kennedale and spend their money, because that will shift some of that tax burden off of our residents. And I know everybody wants to do that, but you gotta spend the money and you gotta get it from somewhere. And sadly, right now, where it's coming from too much is the the taxpayers. And so that good, robust business community will really help with that. And also just remembering that the city government, including the council, work for the people. That is our role, but we work for them. We do not dictate things down to them. And making sure that people not only know that, genuinely believe that and feel that.
Okay. Ebony?
I definitely, well, you probably didn't see me nod my head, but I was nodding my head with Thelma as well.
I already
Yeah,
messed it up. See, I already messed it up. Go ahead, Ebony.
oh,
You
what
finish your
happened?
thought.
Oh,
Please, Matt.
It's been a long day. Please go
uh,
ahead, Ebony. I didn't mean to interrupt.
oh, no worries. So I would say, definitely agree with Thelma. I wouldn't have said the word infrastructure, but because like I said, I'm simple, so I wouldn't use that word. I just would have said, just building that community, those businesses. So definitely the taxes are an issue, and that does come with, bringing more businesses into Kennedale, and making sure that people understand that Kennedale is a good place. Like Matthew said earlier, we're in the heart of everything. So those taxes, and then one of the things that I see that I'm on a lot of the, like, Kennedale Moms Talk and different parent pages, things like that, is everyone wants to keep that small town feel. Everyone wants to keep that community, family feeling that Kennedale holds. And so I would think building that infrastructure, lowering those taxes without losing our small town feel in Kennedale. And so I think that's going to be a major thing, is how do we do that without losing the essence of what Kennedale is.
Yeah, it's definitely the conversation for years around here. All right, Matthew. I messed it up. It's your turn.
Hey, it's only fair trade. It works. Yeah, so for me, I'm going to reiterate what Thelma said, and absolutely what I had in my notes was solidifying the existing infrastructure. That's going to be one of the biggest things to not only support the future growth, but just kind of maintaining what we have now, making sure it's the best that it can be for everyone. We don't start experiencing failures between sewers, drainage, any of that kind of thing. Making sure that as we continue to expand to the future, we have the right power infrastructure in place. So not just water, but going through electricity as well, and going through those providers. Um, that would be one of the biggest things. And then also similarly is trying to get push for more community involvement and gaining community alignment to the decisions that are being proposed to the city council, making sure that everybody has that voice, that involvement. It's one of those things. I know the city does a pretty good job of publishing everything. So if you're not able to attend the meetings, they've got it on streaming. There's follow-ups. There's this avenue with the Kennedale News. There's Kennedale Observer. There's ways for people to keep track of it. But it's, again, I think just kind of pushing to make that a little bit more broadly known, get some more community engagement, involvement, having a genuine town hall type thing where people know that they can come and speak about whatever issues and concerns they have. So kind of pushing that forward. So yeah, that would be my top priorities, is solidifying the infrastructure and making sure that it supports what we have and what we want. And then making sure that we can continue to get community alignment with those paths forward.
Yeah, and Kennedale, we do the YouTube videos now, and it used to be required in 2020, but then they stopped that requirement. Kennedale continued to do that, and there's a requirement when you get like 30,000 I think population you're required to do it on some sort of publication. But we want to do that. The city want to do transparency. But for me, it's more about education because I think the most important quality of any council member or any leader is to educate because the perception is not necessarily reality. And that's the biggest hurdle I think that any leader goes through. All right, last question. I'm not gonna mess this up. We're gonna start with Matt. It's an Ebony question. That's why there's an E next to the six here. What previous community involvements have you had in Kendall or other cities?
Yeah. So within Kennedale, largely has just been going a lot of the community events. Either my wife and I attending, bringing the kids. Really love all the holidays and things that get put together for the town. More recently, attending a few of the meetings on planning and zoning. I've tried to attend the meetings that I'm able to over the new comprehensive plan that's being put together, providing input and sending in email questions and things like that, trying to guide um, or get clarification on some of those points. And yeah, Thelma, I've seen you at those meetings on there, so I really appreciate the work that you're doing on that. But that's going to be within Kennedale. Prior to that, like I said, when I lived in Burleson, I was actually in the Parks and Recreation Department in Burleson, again, helping coordinate community events. Very, very early on, many years ago, working with the initial ground laying of what the downtown beautification was in Burleson and fixing up the old town, and kind of helping put that plan together.
Excellent. Thelma.
You got it right this time,
I
Jeff. Good
did.
job. Let's see. Well, as a public school system educator, at 29 years, I was constantly in and out of the neighborhoods where my students attended or where they lived. You know, 15 of those years was spent working at a high school that served the entire Fort Worth ISD. And so I had kids from all across the city. And yes, we would go into those neighborhoods, get to know the neighborhoods, um, try to bridge that connection because there were a lot of misperceptions on both sides. And so to this day, I can go into some of those neighborhoods and I'll encounter somebody who was either a former student or somebody's mama or somebody's grandmother, and they'll remember me because the name is kind of unique. When I was on active duty in the military, always you were encouraged to be a part of that military community outside of your job. So a lot of varied experiences with that. Here in Kennedale, we're not going to debate at least 6 years on the BOA. Then and
Please.
that's a board that has a lot of that's a very important board
Mhm.
because we make some very important decisions and making sure that people can come to there and be heard with their applications and have some good decisions made for them. The steering committee for revising the comprehensive growth plan, that plan is going to drive how Kennedale looks for the next 10 or more years that we know of. I've volunteered with various community outreach and charity organizations, including being a bell ringer for the Salvation Army's Red Kettle campaign. I've, the last 2 years, rung the bell for the Mayor's Red Kettle Challenge. In addition to that, my husband and I take one full day off work, and I have two jobs, so that's a challenge. But we take one full day off work and just donate it to that charity. And then there are some other charities and organizations that we help out with. So,
Did
and
you
then just being a good neighbor as I can.
did you see that we won an award for the Red Kettle last council?
Did we? I had not heard that. That's
So
awesome.
we were the most improved. Like we're from last year to this year, we did the most on gains, and out of everybody in DFW, and we got an award last council meeting on it. So
And I promise we weren't shaking them down for those donations. So,
maybe I think it was my long Santa hat, and I was dancing out there. I got more compliments than my hat and a bunch of $10 for it. Ebony, go ahead.
I keep meaning to say Thelma and I have a lot in common, educators. And when I saw her name originally, I kept thinking, why do I know that name? So I'm pretty sure Thelma, at some point, we must have crossed paths in Fort Worth ISD because that's where I was a teacher for about 11 years in Fort Worth
we
ISD.
did. My husband was also an educator in Fort Worth ISD. Yes, we did.
Okay, I was like, yeah. So it wasn't until you just said it, I was like, that's what it is.
Either
But
that or you saw the poster in somebody's teacher workroom that said, if this person shows up on campus, please escort her off immediately.
that
Could have been that.
look, I just knew I knew your name. So when you said Fort Worth ISD, I was like, that's it. What branch of military? I'm sorry, I'm off topic. What branch
Army,
of military?
Army,
What branch of
I could have
military?
guessed that.
Army.
Army.
Oh, Army. You said
Yeah.
Army. Okay, I thought you were saying, pardon me, Army. Okay, I'm Marine. So, but that's okay. We all had the same purpose.
Yep.
Thank you all for your service.
Yeah.
Thank
That
you.
explains a lot,
Proud to
Ebony.
serve.
That explains a lot.
So I would say my community involvement, Kennedale and beyond, absolutely the military experience. You can't help but to have community involvement. Educator, you can't help but to do it. From Dallas, I was in Dallas ISD, first coming to Texas. Fort Worth ISD most of my time, where I had to do a lot of community involvement because I was a class sponsor, so raising money, leadership positions, had to be involved in the community because that was just part of our responsibility and roles, getting community members involved in the school and funds for the school. Then, of course, here in Kennedale, like I said, my daughter has been in Kennedale since kindergarten, and so if she's a part of it, I'm definitely all in. I can, if it's a teacher in Kennedale that doesn't know who I am, I'd be surprised. And it would have been just maybe she was too young, or it's been long ago that she was there. I'm a part of the PTO, have been, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years at the high school. I helped to kick off the Juneteenth parade that now takes place. I think this will be our 3rd year coming up.
3rd year, yep.
Trying to think. I originally was a part of the oh my gosh, she would kill me right now if I Miss Grady does the Kennedale theater in the park.
Yep.
Yeah, so we were going to be a part of her first play that they put out, but my daughter had 2 plays at the same time, and so we ended up choosing one in Fort Worth, but we were involved in that when it first began. The list probably could go on, but yeah, I mean, like I said, my career paths have always been service orientated. So I'm always, and then how dare I? My church organization is definitely where I do a lot of community service. We pass out, bags for the homeless. We're down there feeding with tables. And then there's another community service group my god sister does, where we do bags for the homeless in the Dallas city area. So we do that pretty much every year.
I was waiting for that lightning bolt to come down and hit you for not mentioning the church.
I know, right? How dare I leave my Lord and Savior out?
I always tease my children because if you know me, like, I go everywhere with my kids for years, and so I always tease them like, you can't get away with anything in town. Everybody knows that you're my daughter and where to find me and how to find me. So that's kept them in order. And I always remember Thelma Kobek too, because of the same reason why everybody else does. It's unique and it's rememberable. That's how I always remember.
I am literally the only one in the world.
All right. So last question's mine. I will start with Matthew this time because, yes, that's what we talked about earlier, and I'll go around the circle here. And I do have a curveball question since we're doing great on time. I'll throw you a little bit curveball question after you answer it. The question is pick one issue facing Canada that you will tackle in the next 2 years. Matthew.
So probably the big one is going to be finalizing and aligning the comprehensive development plan that's being put together. I think that's going to be one of the big things that really guides where the city government kind of pursues as we're going forward. So once we get the feedback that we have from the community involvement, then kind of drafting the outline of, all right, now we know where we want to get, what are the steps that are going to get us there? And kind of planning that out and putting together preliminary budgets and a strategic plan for that.
And before I forget it again, April 1st would be the final meeting on that. Council will meet with the comprehension committee, and we'll get down to the nitty gritty, bring it before council for vote. So April 1st, and make sure everybody puts that on there. And your curveball question is, how will you get council to interact with you to move forward on your plans on that? Like, how will you relate to council with that? Do we have four
Uh,
specific personalities on there? So how?
yeah, just in the course of my career, I've had to deal with all sorts of different personalities. The biggest thing is just kind of building a rapport with them and understanding, kind of aligned to your imperative. Look, we're all wanting the best thing for Kennedale. We all may have slightly different views of what that ultimately is, but work together, do what we can, align, and then you can take your paths forward.
The beauty of representative democracy, republic democracy. Thelma, pick one issue facing Kendall that you will tackle in the next 2 years.
Well, I think the one that probably immediate for the next 2 years would have to be the infrastructure.
Mhm.
Just continuing with that work, getting as far down the road as we possibly can reasonably. And of course, as I've said before, making sure that not only are we getting repairs and improvements done and replacements done, but having a protocol for maintaining. And I think that's a critical piece that has probably not been addressed in the past, and that's one we have to have in place.
Absolutely, maintenance plan. And your question would be the same. How do you would you get council to interact with you so we can, do the best thing for Kennedale?
Well, um, nobody on there can eat me, so we can't resort to bloodshed. So that's a good thing. No, seriously though, communication is not what you say; it's what the other person hears and interprets you to mean.
Absolutely.
And just keeping that in mind, keeping in mind that everybody's coming to the table with certain things that are very important to them, and being able to just engage in that give and take, being able to understand and step back and actually look at the other person's point of view and say, okay, you know what, there's something that's valid, let's find some commonality and let's work from there.
Absolutely. Great
I
answer.
mean, I got along with you on BOA, so
Yeah,
shouldn't
absolutely.
be an issue.
I'm not a dragon as much as everybody says. I'm a monster. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's so important to have that communication. If you're gonna vote no, just bring up why so we can discuss it. Maybe there's a compromise there. Like you said, different packs, so different walks of life, there might be a good compromise there. Ebony, pick one issue facing Kendall that you will tackle in the next 2 years.
And so I'm in the same lines with Thelma as far as the infrastructure, and I think Matthew kind of hit it as well. And I think for me, I actually kind of talked about it in one of the questions from I think it's the Kennedale Inquirer that's posting
Observer?
the Observer. Thank you. And it's the educator in me. I know Thelma would agree. The educator in me. Every time we made decisions in education, there was some research behind it, and we went. It was not necessarily a reinvent the wheel, but it was, let's see what's working and how it could fit into our particular organization. And so I know without a doubt that there are small town communities out there that are thriving economically, financially, small townly, in all aspects. And so I would just want to start off by saying, okay, where can we go? Where do we need to go? Who is functioning in this way? Let's go and talk to their council members. Let's go and see and walk their city and see what's going on and see what the community members are doing, what their city council is doing, what is working, what's not working, what have they done that we haven't tried, what can we incorporate that they've done that, and of course, take it and modify it to fit the city of Kennedale and everybody who's involved.
Yeah, and I think community connections is the most important thing. It's one of the things I work on the most as a council person is going out to the county and the state and just talking to people and getting connections out there. But I think uniquely, Canada is unique in Texas. I mean, just by location next to the DFW, where like Matthew was saying earlier, 15 minutes from the zoo, and just the square mileages and the landlockness. It's very unique in Texas. So we're going to have to uniquely do it our ways, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't educate and see what other people are doing well or not doing well and learn their lessons before we make the wrong decision. So as a proud um, um, rating, 1.16 rating from the Kindle Observer, council member, how would you interact with us to get your goal done?
Prayer.
I like that.
And I'm not perfect by far. I will never ever claim to be perfect, but one of the things that I have valued about my personality is that I'm a team player. I can't think of anybody that if we didn't get along in the beginning, it was a misunderstanding and we hashed it out and we move on. I don't hold grudges. Every day is a new day. Every conversation is a new conversation. And so if we have a disagreement, we settle it. We might agree to disagree. We might agree to see different ideas. Oh, okay, I agree with you on that, but not on that. And you agree with blah, 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 whatever. I pride myself in being able to get along with multiple people, regardless of whether we agree or disagree on the same issues. We come together as adults and make the essential goal happen. So
Every day is a new day. That's one of my mottos.
yeah.
All right. Well, those are the questions. So I'll give each of you time to do a little conclusion. We'll start with Ebony and work around the squares.
I'm excited just to be a candidate for this position as city council. I think that any of the candidates that are available will do an awesome job just from this conversation. I believe that the right person will be put in place. As for me, if I am elected for this council position, I'm gonna do my best to hear everybody out, to be that transparent person, to be the voice for the citizens of Kennedale, and most importantly, learn all that I can. I'm not a politician, never have been, but I am a go-getter, and I do have a passion for service. And most of all, I'm a learner. I like to learn new things, and that's what I hope to do if I'm elected for place to learn new things, figure out what's going on, that we can make Kennedale thrive and be just be better for the future of our children. So nothing special about me. Is just that I'm a hard worker and want to see great things happen.
And how can people find you and reach out to you if they have questions?
I do have a Facebook page. I believe you can find it just by searching my name. It says candidate. I don't even know what it says. Isn't that horrible? But you can pretty much put my name in and it'll pop up. I'm a real estate agent, and so that you can also find on Facebook if you search my name. And there's a couple of personal things on there about me. I like to include my real estate, my personal. So I post things about my daughter and my family all the time. I don't mind sharing my number. If anybody wants to call me and ask me questions, please feel free. 817-718-5823. My email is zetawoman4@gmail.com or eberrysalesagent@gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you. Matthew?
Did you give
Yeah,
Matthew an opportunity to answer that last question?
Did I skip you, Matthew?
Yeah, I started. I was talking about the
Yeah.
comprehensive development plan.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Woo,
Yeah.
Thelma, you gave me a heart attack there.
You've been so bad about
Check my blood pressure.
leaving him out.
I'd have to do a lot of editing with
I would
that.
have called him way before that, but
Okay.
yeah, no, I
Keep
appreciate the
Jeff
opportunity.
straight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate the opportunity just to, again, just be able to run for this and being in a situation where I'm able to and have the desire. My goal in running was to kind of bring the business acumen and, again, trying to work through a lot of the concerns around fiduciary responsibility and bringing together the transparency and putting together a strategic plan, managing a budget, and working with people to align on what that is. And again, I've lived here for a few years, raising a family, so my goal is to live here many, many more years. And I'd like to watch the city continue to grow into the path that I would be proud to live in and happy to be here with family. And the same thing for other families that want to continue that. Yeah, I mean, that's just my biggest thing on it.
Okay, and how can people get a hold of you, have more questions about your campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way for me is going to be through email. You're welcome to share it on here, but also it's just my name, matthew.dyer.tx for Texas at iCloud.com.
Simple enough. All right. Thelma?
Yep.
Well, let's see. I love Kennedale. I love the people of Kennedale. I believe that serving on the city council for Kennedale is a very big responsibility because a council person really is the voice of the people in the community. So in that capacity, I'm very dedicated, if elected, to making sure that I listen to the people in the community and that I keep decision-making power in the hands of those Kennedale residents through my service if I'm elected. Um, to reach me, I'm literally the only Thelma Kopek in the world. So I have a Facebook page, Thelma L. Kobeck, Kennedale City Council Place 2. I'm working on a website. We'll get those linked and get that up and going. I have an email address, thelmakobeck@aol.com. And my phone number is 817-296-7898. Probably the easiest way on that to get me is to either leave me a voicemail or send me a text. If somebody reaches out, I will respond.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank all y'all for joining the show and participating in this. It was a great conversation, and I think it really brought out some of the issues that you guys are going to and bringing out to Kennedale. Just a reminder, Kennedale, that early voting starts on Monday, April 22nd, and that'll go through Tuesday to April 30th, so it's a small window. And of course, the election is May 4th. And for now, I'm sorry, if you haven't seen it already, we already have the mayor's coffee chat out. Just go to our now YouTube page or KennedaleNews.com to check that out. But on Friday, this Friday, I'll be recording place 4, and then that'll be the final for the season. And if you have any questions, just pause the video, go back a little bit, get their contact information, and reach out to them or reach out to Kennedale News, and we'll pass along the information for you. But for now, guys, this is Jeff Navarez with another coffee chat.